Hi there. So, several people are having a tough time with their resume. And so I just wanted to take some time, walk you through the steps of how to create your resume using the resume creator in the career information system. Okay, so we're going to go in there, we're going to look at this and work our way through the different parts here. So remember, please do not use a template when you are creating your resume. We talked about in class how if you use a template, then the optical readers, the digital readers that different companies use to scan these, they can't scan them. They can't look for those key terms, and you're going to end up looking totally unqualified for them. Okay, so just walking through the steps. When you go into the CIS, remember you can access this from your MyNIMI if you haven't been in there in a while. Log in. If you've forgotten your login credentials, please drop me an email, okay? Once you're in here and it's populated, hover over My Portfolio, drop straight down to Resume Creator. Okay, when you first get, there's going to be an overview, and it's these different sections going down the side that we're going to be looking at. Okay, so we're going to click on Education and Training. You can see here I have already included several different schools. Okay, now remember we do these in reverse chronological order, which means that the most recent schools for you, NIMI right now, is going to be at the top. Okay, so let's look at this entry. Okay, so again, when you're doing this, make sure that you're using all correct capitalization, that you get the address correct for the school. But there's a couple things I want you to notice here. First off, you notice the two red asterisks. That means that those fields must be filled in. Otherwise, it won't let you save them. The other thing to notice is this capital R in parentheses next to school name. That tells you that that field, the school name field, is going to show up on your resume. Okay, so these other ones, the address, the city will show up, the state will show up, your start date and your end date will show up. So for this, let's look at this. So when you're trying to figure out what your start date is, you're going to do your best guess if you don't have the exact date. Okay, so we know that in January that we start pretty early, but we certainly don't start the first Monday. Second Monday is a pretty good guess. Okay, then here, if you are, when you get to that point when you're graduated, you can go in and change this, but for now you're going to click this little box here that says to present. Okay, and that tells the resume creator that this is something you are still doing. Okay, save your information and move on. So for those of you who have a second college that you've attended, you'll enter that in next. Okay, to do that, you click the add school and you just fill in those fields. So remember, for this, you're going to have New Mexico Military Institute. That's going to be up at the top. Next is your last school. If that was a high school or a college, either way, they're going to go in there. Okay. One thing I did forget to mention to you, because I know some people have some questions. Some of the different aspects here. Major, don't worry about putting anything in there. Anything you leave blank will just be blank. It won't be like there'll be a header with nothing there. So just leave that off. Degree, this would either be liberal arts, associate of liberal arts, or associate of science. Okay, and you would type that in there if you want to. You don't have to. These activities. So these activities are activities that you participated in at the school that pertain to the job you're applying for. Okay, so say if as part of your time here at NIMI, you've done some leadership training and leadership is important for the job, then you would type in leadership training. Okay. Again, courses only include courses that pertain to the job you're applying for. You're not going to put freshman comp. You're not going to put algebra 1 or college algebra, things like that. Okay, just courses that pertain. Okay, so then moving on down, just clicking down the side here, licenses and certificates. If you've done any training for which you have received a certificate or you have a license, you will enter that in here. Here's some common CPR, first aid CPR. That's a pretty common one. Chainsaw operator, no, that's not common, but that was from a student I worked with in the past who had gone to a class and did that. Now, you're going to put everything in here, but you won't necessarily leave them all in for your final resume. For instance, if you're applying for a job at a daycare center, knowing CPR is probably a good thing. Being certified to operate a chainsaw, probably not important. Okay, so you're going to leave that off. Next one down, workshops and trainings. This is for if you've participated in any workshops or trainings that for which you did not receive a certificate or a license. Okay, we're going to ignore standardized tests. Don't worry about it, don't include it. Paid and unpaid work. Okay, so the first thing that comes up is work history, and then next comes volunteer work, community service, and military service. Okay, so this first one I want you to note, this is for a position where the person basically worked for themselves, they were self-employed, and they did house sitting. Okay, so let's go in and look at what these different work history fields look like. So again, you have the employer listed. If you did house sitting, yard work, babysitting, anything of that nature, cleaning houses for your neighbor, anything like that, you're going to put self-employed here. Okay, start date, end date. Don't worry about starting pay, ending pay. You don't need that information there. Your job title. And then this here talks about the different things that you did. Take care of dogs and fish, take care of yard, bring in mail, water house plants. For one thing, you're not going to have two things in the same box because that's going to mess up your formatting. So we're going to cut that out of there and we're going to move it down to the new box. Now, these are not real exciting different types of verbs. You're going to use stronger action verbs than that. Say if in the instance of taking care of the dog, say one of the dogs was on medication, you had to monitor medication, you would include that type of thing, okay? But you're going to include your different duties. Don't worry about these two fields. Notice they don't show up on the resume anyway. Save the information and move on. Okay, again, you're going to go through volunteer work, has the same types of fields. Military service. If you are in the military or you have been in the military, include that. Achievements, activities, and skills. This section gives you the opportunity to highlight different things that you've done or achievements that you've earned. So again, when you go in there to add an achievement, the nice thing about these is there's a box where you can get prompts. So you click here and you can see that this is for awards, recognitions, or scholarly work or presentations. So you know what, if you don't have any of these, don't worry about it. Cancel out of there and go on to the next thing. Okay, activities. Activities, these could be school-related activities. They could be community activities. It could be, say that you have been a champion ultimate Frisbee player for years, okay? And maybe that has something to do with the job that you're looking at. So you could put that there. Again, you're going to add the activity. So this could be athletics, clubs, community service, interests, leadership, professional association, or talent. Now, if there's another area that those don't quite fit what it was that you did, you can always just type it right in there, okay? So the title of the activity, when did you start it, when did you end it? If it's something you're still doing, say you've been playing golf since you were like 12 years old and you're on the golf team now, go ahead and put that in there. And into present, and then that brings it all together. By putting the activities in this section rather than under the education section, it allows you to show the full depth of what you've done. Here you can put you're not going to write something like, I golfed on the golf team. Okay, here you're going to put something that would be, that would explain basically the depth of your experience there. Okay, this contact information, if you have like the name, contact information of the advisor, coach, mentor, supervisor, or teacher, even though it won't show up on your resume, why don't you go ahead and put that in there? That way you've got it for future references in case you want to use them for a reference for a job. Okay, so we're going to cancel out of there. Next one is skills. You can see the different areas of skills would be equipment, languages, software skills, and special skills. So if you are fluent in more than one language, you're definitely going to make sure that you include that here. It may either go here or it can go into a separate section that I will show you later. Okay? Okay, so let's cancel out of there. Sorry, dropped my mouse. Okay, don't worry about the contact information. Okay, because this here, you're not going to be using that anyway because you're going to be doing your using your professional header. Your references, you can put them in here, but you're not going to leave them in your resume when you print it out. So this is a good place to bring information together, have it as a resource so it's all together. Again, we're going to ignore that for this purposes. So then we're going to click on Create Resume. Now, first thing you're going to do, leave this as recent grad. That's really important. Otherwise, if you change that, it messes things up. Leave this, include dates in your resume. Change this from list references to do not include. Hit next. Okay, you see this section here? Do not use the objective section, okay? If you do, I'm just going to give you a 0 and tell you to do it over. I've talked about this in class several times. Now I'm talking about it again. I'm going to erase that because I'm not going to include that in my resume, but just make sure that you don't use the objective section, okay? This section here is one that you can use. And I'm actually going to do a separate video that talks about your summary of qualifications because that's a whole nother animal, okay? For right now, we're going to leave that blank. Just scroll all the way down, leave it as RTF, MS Word, open Office, and download your resume. Now this, my Mac, I haven't done this a whole lot on, and it does some strange things. And let's see if it's going to let me open it up as a Word document. It is not. So what I'm going to have to do is leave it as a text edit, which is going to be annoying, but at least you'll be able to still see it. Okay. So here's my resume. It's way too long. Okay, guys. This is way longer than what you're going to have in your final resume. You have 1 page. So at this point, what I'm going to do, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of the header information because I already have that header. Okay, so you can see what I have here, the different things. And now let me go back. Let me look for the resume, the final thing here. Okay, went to references. Okay, so here's the summary of qualifications. Okay, and see, I've edited this down so that I have one page. Okay, you're going to, this is where you're going to go through, you're going to double check your spelling, you're going to make sure you're only including the things that you really need to have. Okay, so that's it for this one here. So go ahead, get those done, get them turned in. If you did use a template, please go back to CIS, transfer the information in there and use it that way. You can type it in yourself just on a regular Word document, but please do not use a template, okay? As always, give me a holler if you have any questions, okay? Thanks, bye.